"Come with me," said the rich rancher when he saw the poor black woman selling her wedding ring for food, her trembling hands barely able to release the golden band as her 3 hungry children pressed close. The townsfolk whispered cruel judgments, certain the desperate widow would join the countless others swallowed by the unforgiving frontier. What they couldn't see was the quiet intelligence burning behind her exhausted eyes, or the terrible secret that drove the wealthy cattleman to watch her so intently from across the dusty street. 2 strangers, each harboring hidden truths that could destroy them, his empire built on a shameful lie, her survival depending on skills no one suspected she possessed. When their worlds collide, will mutual desperation forge an unlikely alliance, or will the weight of their secrets crush them both? Before we continue, comment where you are tuning in from. Perhaps we will publish a story there. The winter of 1873 had been merciless to Cedar Ridge, Colorado. Snow still clung to the wooden sidewalks despite the March sun, and hunger walked hand in hand with desperation through the frontier town's dusty streets. Evelyn Carter stood outside Murphy's trading post, her 3 children huddled close against the bitter wind. Sarah, 12 years old with her mother's intelligent eyes, kept a protective arm around 8-year-old Moses, while 5-year-old Ruth buried her face in the folds of Evelyn's worn dress. They had not eaten in 2 days. The gold wedding band felt impossibly heavy in Evelyn's palm. She turned it slowly, remembering the day Thomas had slipped it onto her finger 6 years ago. He had been so proud then, a freeman with his own small farm and a wife who could read and write better than most men in 3 counties. The consumption had taken him last autumn, and the creditors had claimed everything else by Christmas. Through the trading post window, she could see old Murphy counting coins behind his wooden counter. His weathered face would show no sympathy. Business was business on the frontier, and sentiment filled no empty bellies. The bell above the door jangled as Evelyn pushed inside, her children following like shadows. The warmth hit her face, carrying scents of coffee, leather, and tobacco. Murphy looked up from his ledger, his eyes taking in their threadbare clothes and hollow cheeks. Other customers turned to stare. Mrs. Henderson clutched her shopping basket tighter and whispered something to the woman beside her. 2 ranch hands near the pickle barrel stopped talking and watched with the casual interest of men observing a wounded animal. Evelyn approached the counter with as much dignity as she could muster. She had been the school teacher in their old town before marrying Thomas. She had taught children of all colors to read Shakespeare and solve arithmetic. Now she was just another desperate woman with nowhere left to turn. Murphy set down his pen and waited. His silence said everything about what he thought of her chances. She placed the ring on the scarred wooden counter. The gold caught the lamplight and gleamed like a tiny sun against the dark wood. Murphy picked it up and examined it through a small magnifying glass. He turned it over twice, checking for scratches and testing the weight. Evelyn could feel the stares of everyone in the store burning into her back. The bell jangled again as someone else entered, but Evelyn kept her eyes fixed on Murphy's hands. Murphy set the ring down and shrugged. The offer he named was less than half what the ring was worth. Evelyn's heart sank, but she had expected this. A woman of her circumstances had no leverage for negotiation. She nodded acceptance, though the amount would buy perhaps a week of basic food for her family. Beyond that lay only the unknown. From across the store came the quiet sound of boots on wooden planks. Evelyn glanced toward the sound and saw a man watching her with unusual intensity. He was tall and broad-shouldered, his clothes marking him as someone of substance. His hat was well made, his boots unpatched, and his coat showed no signs of hard times. This had to be Garrett Mitchell, owner of the largest cattle ranch in the territory. Even in her old town, people had spoken of Mitchell's success. He employed dozens of men and ran thousands of head of cattle across vast stretches of grassland. What could such a man want with her transaction? Mitchell stepped closer, his weathered hands clasped behind his back. His eyes met Evelyn's briefly, and she saw something unexpected there. Not pity, which she had learned to despise, but something closer to recognition. Murphy was reaching for his cash box when Mitchell spoke. His voice was quiet, but carried easily through the sudden silence of the store. The words he offered were simple, but they changed everything. An invitation that sounded too good to be true. Work at his ranch, fair wages, a place for her children. Evelyn studied his face, searching for hidden intentions. She had learned to be wary of generous offers from powerful men. The frontier was littered with women who had trusted too quickly and paid too dearly. But Ruth was growing thinner each day, and Moses had stopped complaining about hunger because he knew there was nothing to be done. Sarah tried to hide her own weakness, but Evelyn saw how slowly her eldest daughter moved, how carefully she rationed her steps. Mitchell waited patiently for her answer. The other customers watched with the fascination of spectators at a horse race, wondering which way the odds would fall. Evelyn looked down at her children, then back at the ring still sitting on Murphy's counter. The choice before her felt like standing at the edge of a cliff with her children's lives in her hands. Mitchell's offer represented either salvation or a different kind of trap, but staying in town meant certain slow starvation, while his ranch offered at least the possibility of survival. She had been a teacher once. She understood numbers and could read contracts as well as any lawyer. Perhaps those skills might serve her better than she dared hope. The store held its collective breath as Evelyn Carter prepared to make the decision that would determine whether her family lived or died. Evelyn accepted Mitchell's offer with a simple nod. The alternative was watching her children waste away, and no mother could choose that path willingly. Mitchell's wagon waited outside, sturdy and well-maintained like everything else he owned. He helped the children climb into the back before offering Evelyn his hand up to the front seat. His palm was rough with calluses, the hands of a man who had worked hard despite his current wealth. The ride to Mitchell Ranch stretched across rolling hills dotted with cattle. Evelyn counted hundreds of head grazing in the distance. This was success on a scale she had never imagined possible for anyone, let alone a man who had supposedly started with nothing. Mitchell remained unusually quiet during the journey. Most men of his position enjoyed talking about their accomplishments, but he seemed lost in thought. His hands gripped the reins tightly, and she noticed how he avoided looking at a leather satchel tucked beneath the wagon seat. Ruth fell asleep against her mother's shoulder, finally able to rest without the gnawing worry of where their next meal would come from. Moses and Sarah whispered quietly in the back, their voices carrying notes of cautious hope. The ranch house appeared first, a sprawling structure of timber and stone that spoke of prosperity built over many years. Outbuildings stretched in every direction, each serving a specific purpose in the complex machinery of cattle ranching. Men moved about their tasks with the efficient rhythm of a well-organized operation. Mitchell brought the wagon to a stop near the main house. Several ranch hands paused in their work to observe the newcomers. Their faces showed curiosity rather than hostility, but Evelyn knew how quickly that could change. A woman emerged from the house, her posture rigid with disapproval. This had to be Judith Turner, the ranch foreman Mitchell had mentioned. Her sharp eyes took in Evelyn's appearance with obvious skepticism. Turner's greeting was cold, but professional. She clearly questioned Mitchell's decision, but would not challenge him directly in front of others. Her tone suggested this conversation would continue later in private. Mitchell showed them through the house, pointing out rooms and explaining basic routines. The kitchen was larger than Evelyn's entire previous home, equipped with everything needed to feed dozens of people. Her children's eyes widened at the sight of well-stocked pantries and root cellars. Then Mitchell led her to a small office adjoining the main house. Papers covered every surface in chaotic piles. Letters lay unopened on the desk, some bearing official seals that suggested important business matters. Account books sat scattered without apparent organization. Mitchell gestured toward the mess with obvious discomfort. He mentioned needing help organizing business correspondence, his voice carrying a strange tension. Most successful ranchers took pride in their business acumen, but Mitchell seemed almost embarrassed by these materials. Evelyn picked up one of the unopened letters. The return address indicated correspondence from a major cattle buyer in Denver. Such letters typically contained time-sensitive offers or contract negotiations. Leaving them unopened made no business sense. She glanced at Mitchell and noticed sweat beading on his forehead despite the cool temperature. His hands clenched and unclenched at his sides as he watched her examine the papers. The realization struck her like lightning. Mitchell could not read the letters because Mitchell could not read at all. Everything suddenly made sense. His nervous behavior around paperwork, the disorganized state of his business correspondence, and his desperate need for help that went far beyond simple housekeeping duties. The most successful rancher in 3 counties had built his empire while harboring a secret that could destroy everything he had worked to achieve. Evelyn set the letter back on the desk carefully. Mitchell watched her face, waiting for the judgment or pity that never came. Instead, she recognized the courage it must have taken for him to reveal this vulnerability to a stranger. The scope of his trust became clear. He was not just offering her employment, but partnership in protecting the secret that kept his business empire intact. If anyone discovered his illiteracy, competitors and creditors would circle like vultures sensing weakness. But Evelyn possessed exactly the skills Mitchell lacked. Her years as a schoolteacher had made her comfortable with complex written materials. Her experience managing her late husband's farm finances had taught her the basics of business correspondence. The law books she had studied while fighting creditors had given her insights into contracts and legal language. Mitchell needed her education and analytical mind. She needed his resources and protection. Their partnership could save them both, but only if they could maintain absolute secrecy about the true nature of their arrangement. Turner appeared in the doorway, her suspicion evident as she observed them together in the office. She clearly wondered why a housekeeper required access to private business papers. Her questions would only grow more pointed with time. Mitchell outlined the basic terms of their arrangement: fair wages, comfortable quarters for her family, and legitimate work that would provide cover for her real responsibilities. The children could attend the local school, and Evelyn would have opportunities to use skills that had been wasted during months of desperate survival. The risks were enormous for both of them. Discovery would mean ruin for Mitchell and homelessness for her family. But the alternative was certain starvation, and Evelyn had not kept her children alive this long by refusing to take calculated risks when necessary. She agreed to their secret partnership with a handshake that sealed both their fates. 2 people with everything to lose had just bet their futures on trusting a complete stranger. The first week at Mitchell Ranch established the rhythm of their secret partnership. Each evening after the regular ranch hands finished their duties, Evelyn and Mitchell worked in the office by lamplight. She sorted through months of neglected correspondence while he practiced writing his name with painstaking concentration. Evelyn discovered the ranch's financial situation was more precarious than anyone suspected. Several important contracts had gone unanswered, and payment schedules had been missed due to misunderstood correspondence. Mitchell's business instincts remained sharp, but his inability to read had created dangerous gaps in communication with buyers and suppliers. During their third late-night session, Evelyn uncovered something troubling. The ranch account books showed systematic discrepancies in cattle sales and supply purchases. Small amounts at first, but growing bolder over recent months. Someone was stealing from Mitchell, and they were clever enough to hide it within routine transactions. She showed Mitchell the evidence, pointing out patterns he could never have detected without written records. His jaw tightened as the scope of the theft became clear. Trust was everything in ranch operations, and someone had betrayed that trust while counting on his illiteracy to hide their crimes. The most logical suspect was Judith Turner. As foreman, she had access to both cattle sales and purchasing records. Her hostility toward Evelyn might stem from fear of discovery rather than simple prejudice. A new set of eyes on the books threatened years of successful embezzlement. Meanwhile, Evelyn's children adapted to ranch life with varying degrees of success. Sarah quickly became indispensable to other ranch families, helping with childcare and teaching younger children to read. Her natural teaching ability reminded everyone that intelligence ran in their family. Moses threw himself into learning ranch work with the enthusiasm of a boy finally given purpose. The older hands took him under their protection, teaching him to rope and ride while sharing stories of cattle drives and frontier adventures. His quick wit and eagerness to learn won him acceptance among men who judged character by effort rather than background. Ruth charmed everyone within days of arrival. Her infectious laughter and fearless curiosity melted even the most hardened cowboys. She had claimed Mitchell as her particular friend, and he found himself looking forward to her chattered reports of ranch activities during their evening meals. But Turner's suspicion grew more pointed with each passing day. She questioned why Evelyn spent so much time in the office, why Mitchell consulted with her on matters that should concern only management, and why a housekeeper seemed to have opinions about business decisions. Her probing questions created tension among the other ranch hands. Some began wondering if inappropriate relationships explained Mitchell's unusual favoritism toward his new employee. Others suggested that hiring a woman with children showed poor judgment that could affect ranch operations. The gossip reached town within days. Cedar Ridge thrived on speculation about the private lives of successful people, and Mitchell's decision to employ a desperate woman sparked intense interest. Some stories suggested charity, others hinted at scandal, but all carried undertones of disapproval. During their fourth week, the situation reached a crisis point. Cattle prices had dropped dramatically due to railroad disputes, leaving ranchers across the territory struggling to maintain profitability. Mitchell needed to renegotiate existing contracts and secure new buyers quickly, or face serious financial troubles. The correspondence required delicate handling. Buyers held all the advantage in current market conditions, and any sign of weakness would result in even lower offers. Mitchell's reputation for shrewd business dealings provided some protection, but maintaining that reputation depended entirely on Evelyn's ability to craft responses that projected strength while accepting unfavorable terms. She spent long hours composing letters that balanced desperation with dignity. Her experience fighting creditors after Thomas's death had taught her the language of business negotiation. The law books she had studied during those dark months now proved invaluable as she identified contract loopholes that could provide protection against future market fluctuations. Mitchell watched her work with growing amazement. Her education exceeded that of most men in the territory, and her analytical mind grasped complex business relationships faster than he had thought possible. She was not just managing his correspondence, but actively improving his business strategy. Their mutual respect deepened into genuine partnership. Mitchell valued her intelligence and integrity, while Evelyn appreciated his willingness to recognize her abilities despite social conventions. They worked as equals during those late-night sessions, two people whose different strengths complemented perfectly. But Turner had noticed the improved quality of recent business letters. The writing style seemed different from previous correspondence, more sophisticated and legally precise. Her questions became direct accusations about who was really conducting ranch business. The confrontation came during a routine discussion of cattle sales records. Turner demanded to know why Evelyn was present during business meetings and why her recommendations carried so much weight with Mitchell. Her tone suggested she suspected the truth about their arrangement. Evelyn revealed the embezzlement evidence that same evening, spreading the documented proof across Mitchell's desk. Turner had stolen thousands of dollars over 2 years, growing increasingly bold as she assumed her activities would never be discovered. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. Mitchell faced an impossible choice. Confronting Turner meant risking exposure of his illiteracy if she chose to retaliate. But allowing the theft to continue would eventually destroy the ranch financially. Either path led to potential ruin, and time was running out to make a decision that could save everything he had built. Mitchell decided to confront Turner privately the next morning. He found her in the equipment barn, ostensibly checking harness repairs but clearly avoiding the main house where Evelyn might overhear their conversation. Turner's reaction to the embezzlement accusations revealed everything. She did not deny the charges or express surprise at being discovered. Instead, she immediately threatened to expose Mitchell's secret partnership with Evelyn if he pursued the matter further. Her words carried the cold calculation of someone who had prepared for this moment. She knew about the late-night office sessions, the improved business correspondence, and Mitchell's unusual dependence on his housekeeper's advice. Drawing the correct conclusions required no great intelligence. Turner's threat went beyond simple exposure. She promised to spread rumors throughout the territory that Mitchell was romantically involved with Evelyn, destroying both their reputations while undermining confidence in his business judgment. The scandal would drive away customers and employees alike. Mitchell found himself trapped between two forms of destruction. Allowing Turner to continue stealing would slowly bleed the ranch to death, but confronting her publicly might accomplish the same result more quickly through scandal and lost credibility. He returned to the house to find Evelyn teaching Ruth basic arithmetic at the kitchen table, while Sarah helped prepare the midday meal. Moses burst through the door with excited reports of helping move cattle to new grazing areas. The scene represented everything he had hoped to provide for this family, and Turner's threats endangered it all. That afternoon brought unexpected complications. A well-dressed stranger arrived in an expensive carriage, introducing himself as Harrison Caldwell from Denver. He claimed to represent Eastern investors interested in purchasing large cattle operations throughout Colorado Territory. Caldwell's timing seemed suspiciously convenient. Word of the territory's financial troubles had apparently reached investment circles, creating opportunities for those with ready cash to acquire struggling ranches at reduced prices. His polished manner and expensive clothes marked him as someone accustomed to getting what he wanted. The businessman requested a private meeting to discuss potential purchase terms. His casual mention of hearing about Mitchell's recent difficulties suggested that news of the cattle market crisis had traveled faster than expected. Desperate ranchers made ideal targets for aggressive negotiations. Mitchell agreed to the meeting while privately dreading the complex contract discussions that would surely follow. Caldwell's legal background became apparent within minutes as he spoke casually about territorial property laws and livestock valuation methods. This was precisely the kind of negotiation where Mitchell's illiteracy created maximum vulnerability. Meanwhile, Benjamin Ross approached Evelyn with disturbing information. The quiet ranch hand had been observing Turner's activities for weeks, suspicious of her frequent unexplained absences and defensive behavior. His investigations had uncovered additional evidence of theft. Ross had discovered Turner's hiding place for stolen goods and skimmed cash. She had been selling ranch supplies to neighboring properties while reporting them as damaged or lost. Her embezzlement was even more extensive than Evelyn's financial analysis had suggested. More importantly, Ross revealed that several other ranch hands shared his suspicions, but had been afraid to speak against Turner directly. Her position as foreman and Mitchell's apparent trust in her had protected her from scrutiny. But the men were ready to support accusations if Mitchell chose to act. Sarah contributed the final piece of evidence. While exploring the ranch grounds, she had stumbled upon Turner's secret cache in an abandoned cabin. Bags of ranch-branded supplies sat alongside detailed records of unauthorized sales. Turner had been keeping her own books to track the profits from her theft. The evidence was now overwhelming and undeniable. Multiple witnesses could testify to Turner's crimes, and her own records provided documentation of systematic embezzlement. But her threats still hung over any attempt to seek justice. That evening, Caldwell presented his purchase offer during a dinner meeting at the ranch house. Evelyn served the meal while listening carefully to the businessman's proposal. His terms were superficially generous but contained subtle traps designed to cheat an unsophisticated seller. Caldwell spoke exclusively to Mitchell, ignoring Evelyn's presence except to compliment the cooking. His condescending attitude suggested he viewed the negotiation as a simple matter of taking advantage of a struggling rancher's desperation. The contract he produced was deliberately complex and filled with legal terminology designed to confuse. Mitchell struggled visibly with the document's technical language. His requests for clarification revealed his limited understanding of legal concepts, encouraging Caldwell to become more aggressive in pushing for immediate acceptance. The businessman sensed weakness and moved to exploit it. Evelyn recognized every deceptive clause and manipulative provision in Caldwell's contract. Her months studying law books to fight creditors had taught her to identify exactly these kinds of traps. The agreement would give Caldwell control of the ranch while leaving Mitchell with minimal compensation and continuing liability for existing debts. The contract also contained time pressure designed to prevent careful consideration. Caldwell claimed his investors required immediate decisions and would withdraw the offer if not accepted within days. This artificial urgency was another classic negotiation tactic to force poor decisions. As Mitchell hesitated over the complex terms, Evelyn faced her own critical decision. She could remain silent and protect their secret while watching him be cheated, or step forward publicly to defend him regardless of consequences. Everything they had built together hung in the balance of that moment. The room waited in tense silence as the future of Mitchell Ranch balanced on the edge of disaster. Evelyn stepped forward from her position by the kitchen doorway. Her voice cut through the tense silence with calm authority as she addressed Caldwell directly. She systematically dismantled every deceptive clause in his contract, the liability provisions that would leave Mitchell responsible for debts after selling, the valuation methods that underestimated ranch assets by thousands of dollars, the payment schedule that backloaded compensation to reduce actual value through delayed installments. Caldwell's confident expression crumbled as Evelyn exposed each manipulation with precise legal terminology. She quoted territorial property statutes from memory and identified contract precedents that would protect sellers in similar transactions. Her analysis revealed the businessman's offer as sophisticated theft disguised as legitimate business. Mitchell watched in amazement as his secret partner publicly demonstrated abilities that exceeded most trained lawyers. Her education and months of desperate legal research had created expertise that Caldwell clearly had not expected to encounter in this remote ranch house. The businessman's condescending mask slipped away, replaced by barely controlled fury at being outmaneuvered by someone he had dismissed as household help. His protests grew increasingly desperate as Evelyn continued methodically destroying his negotiating position with superior knowledge and preparation. Other ranch hands had gathered outside the windows, drawn by raised voices and sensing important developments. Word spread quickly through the bunkhouse that something significant was happening at the main house. Soon dozens of men crowded around the building, listening to every word. Caldwell made the fatal error of attacking Evelyn's right to participate in business discussions. His words carried unmistakable implications about her race and gender, suggesting she had no place in negotiations between respectable men. The comments revealed his true character while undermining any remaining credibility. Mitchell rose from his chair with quiet dignity. He acknowledged Evelyn publicly as his business partner, crediting her intelligence with saving the ranch from financial disaster. The admission shocked everyone present but carried undeniable sincerity and respect. The revelation of their partnership explained months of mysterious improvements in ranch operations, better contract negotiations, improved supplier relationships, and more sophisticated financial management suddenly made perfect sense. Evelyn's hidden contributions had been elevating everything while remaining invisible. Caldwell stormed out in humiliated fury, his profitable scheme demolished by superior preparation and knowledge. His parting threats suggested he would spread word about Mitchell's unconventional business arrangements, but the damage to his own reputation seemed more severe. The ranch hands who had witnessed the confrontation began sharing details with their colleagues. Stories of Evelyn's brilliant legal analysis spread throughout the community within hours. Her defense of Mitchell against deception earned respect that transcended traditional social barriers. Mitchell seized the moment to address Turner's embezzlement publicly. With Ross and Sarah providing evidence, he laid out the systematic theft that had been bleeding the ranch for years. Turner's own records provided damning documentation of her crimes. Faced with overwhelming proof and multiple witnesses, Turner attempted one final threat about exposing secrets. But Mitchell's public acknowledgement of Evelyn as his partner had already revealed their working relationship. Her leverage evaporated along with her position and freedom. The community response surprised everyone involved. Rather than scandal over Mitchell's illiteracy, people expressed admiration for his wisdom in recognizing Evelyn's abilities. His honesty about limitations while showcasing her strengths demonstrated leadership that enhanced rather than diminished his reputation. Local officials arrested Turner and recovered the stolen funds. Her removal eliminated the immediate threat to ranch operations while validating Mitchell's decision to trust Evelyn despite social conventions. Justice had been served through courage and truth rather than violence or revenge. News of the events reached Cedar Ridge within days. The story of Evelyn's legal expertise and Mitchell's unconventional partnership became legendary throughout the territory. Her transformation from desperate widow to respected business leader inspired other families struggling against impossible odds. But the true test came weeks later when competing rancher William Morrison approached with a different kind of offer. He needed a business manager for his expanding operation, offering Evelyn twice her current salary, plus independent authority, over all financial decisions. Morrison's proposal represented everything Evelyn might have dreamed of months earlier: financial security, professional recognition, and escape from the complicated dynamics of her current situation. His ranch was larger and more profitable, offering opportunities Mitchell's operation might never provide. The offer forced Evelyn to examine what she truly wanted from life. Morrison promised money and status, but Mitchell's ranch had become something more precious. Home, family, belonging earned through shared struggles and mutual respect. Her children had found their place in the community. Sarah was teaching other ranch children and talking about becoming a real school teacher. Moses had discovered his calling in ranch work and earned the respect of seasoned cowboys. Ruth had claimed Mitchell as a grandfather figure and the entire ranch as her playground. Mitchell made clear that he would support whatever decision she made. Their partnership had saved his ranch, but he refused to trap her through obligation or guilt. Her freedom to choose demonstrated the respect that had grown between them over months of working together. The ranch hands waited anxiously for her answer. They had witnessed her contributions and recognized her value to their community. Her departure would diminish everything they had built together, but her choice had to remain entirely her own. Evelyn's decision would determine not just her family's future, but the direction of everyone whose lives had become intertwined with theirs during their remarkable journey from desperation to belonging. Evelyn gathered her children that evening to discuss Morrison's offer. Sarah understood the financial advantages immediately, her quick mind grasping the opportunities that doubled salary could provide. Moses worried about leaving the ranch hands who had become his teachers and friends. Ruth simply asked if they would have to say goodbye to Mitchell. The conversation revealed how deeply the ranch had become home for all of them. Sarah had been helping other families with their children's education, discovering a passion for teaching that reminded her of her mother's former career. Moses had found mentors among the cowboys who appreciated his eagerness to learn and natural ability with livestock. Ruth had claimed every corner of the ranch as her personal domain. Mitchell spent the following days giving Evelyn space to make her decision without pressure. He continued their evening sessions in the office, teaching himself to read with increasing confidence while she managed correspondence. Their partnership had evolved beyond necessity into genuine collaboration built on mutual respect. The ranch operations had never run more smoothly. Evelyn's systematic approach to financial management had eliminated waste and improved supplier relationships. Mitchell's practical knowledge combined with her analytical skills had created efficiency that impressed visitors and competitors alike. They had proven that unconventional partnerships could achieve remarkable results. Word of Evelyn's expertise had spread throughout the territory. Other ranchers began seeking her advice on contract negotiations and financial planning. Her reputation as someone who could outmaneuver sophisticated businessmen had opened doors that would have remained permanently closed months earlier. But success brought new complexities. Morrison's offer represented validation of her abilities and financial security for her children's futures. The larger ranch would provide Sarah with better educational opportunities and Moses with exposure to more advanced ranching techniques. Ruth would adapt as children always did, finding new adventures wherever they settled. Ross approached Evelyn during her third day of deliberation. The quiet ranch hand had become an unexpected ally, and his opinion carried weight among the other men. He shared what the ranch hands were saying among themselves about her potential departure. The men had discussed pooling their resources to match Morrison's salary offer. They recognized her contributions to their collective success and wanted her to know she was valued beyond simple employment. Their gesture touched Evelyn deeply, though she knew their combined resources could never match Morrison's wealth. More importantly, Ross revealed how much the ranch community had changed since her arrival. Families were sending their children to Sarah for reading lessons. The men were treating each other with increased respect after watching how Mitchell valued Evelyn's intelligence. Her presence had elevated everyone's expectations of what was possible. Sarah made her own decision that evening. She approached her mother with quiet determination, announcing her intention to stay on the ranch regardless of what the family chose. The local families needed a teacher, and she had found her calling in continuing her mother's educational legacy. Her mature reasoning surprised Evelyn, while confirming how much they had all grown. Moses was equally clear about his preferences. The ranch had given him purpose and belonging he had never experienced elsewhere. The cowboys had accepted him as one of their own, teaching him skills that would serve him throughout his life. Morrison's ranch might offer advancement, but this place had become his home. Ruth settled the matter with childlike simplicity. She wanted to stay where Mitchell could read her stories and where every animal knew her name. Her innocent wisdom cut through adult complexities to reach fundamental truths about belonging and happiness. Evelyn realized that her children had already made the choice for all of them. They had found home, and no amount of money could replace the security of being valued for who they were rather than what they could provide. Morrison's offer represented opportunity, but Mitchell's ranch had become family. She informed Morrison of her decision the following morning. His disappointment was genuine, but he expressed respect for her choice while leaving the offer open for future consideration. His acknowledgement of her worth provided satisfaction even as she declined his proposal. The ranch community celebrated her decision with quiet satisfaction. No dramatic announcements or grand gestures, simply the continued rhythm of daily life with everyone secure in their relationships and responsibilities. Mitchell expressed his gratitude through increased delegation of authority and public recognition of her partnership. Spring arrived early that year, bringing new calves and fresh possibilities. Evelyn's financial projections showed the ranch positioned for its most profitable year ever. Mitchell's reading had progressed to handling simple correspondence independently, though he continued valuing her guidance on complex matters. Sarah established a proper school in the ranch's unused cabin, teaching children from neighboring properties alongside ranch families. Moses advanced to handling cattle drives with experienced hands, his natural ability earning respect throughout the territory. Ruth appointed herself official greeter for ranch visitors, a role she performed with enthusiastic charm. The final symbol of their transformation came when Moses carved a new sign for the ranch entrance. Mitchell Ranch became Mitchell Carter Ranch, acknowledging the partnership that had saved everything while creating something better than either could have achieved alone. The sign represented more than name recognition. It symbolized the power of seeing beyond surface appearances to recognize hidden strengths. It celebrated the courage required to trust strangers with life-changing decisions. Most importantly, it honored the truth that real belonging comes not from circumstances of birth, but from contributions made and relationships earned. The Carter family had found home through the simple act of one person choosing kindness over judgment when desperation demanded dignity rather than charity.